Welcome aboard, I'm Eric.
And I'm Paul.
If you're thinking about getting into drones,
or if you have a drone and just haven't put in the time to make the most of it, this video might be just for you.
Paul moonlights as a professional photographer, and by day, he flies commercial drones and manages a team of drone pilots for his job.
Eric is a recognized leader and innovator in the use of drones and action cams to teach sailing and broadcast sailboat races.
The primary purpose of my channel and the courses at sailboatinstructor.com is to make it easy and convenient to learn how to sail. The secondary purpose is to encourage and support more sailing content creators. Photography, video editing, and even live streaming topics are things that we like to talk about. I do offer a mostly free How We Make Sailing Videos course at sailboatinstructor.com, so be sure and check that out. Working with a camera guy like Paul here, who knows camera settings and knows how to color grade and post, made an immediate and very noticeable impact on the quality of my sailing videos.
So with my background, I'm used to flying drones corporately and conservatively, and watching Eric buzzing around a few inches off the water in difficult conditions, and hearing about his goals and visions for the Sailboat Instructor Project, it sounded like a fun challenge that I wanted to be a part of.
Well, in the ever-evolving world of drone compliance, it's nice to have you on board because you deal with drone compliance every day and can keep me in the loop on the latest and greatest. There are entire YouTube videos dedicated to this stuff.
I suggested to Eric that we should make a video to help new drone pilots get started on the right foot.
I'll admit, I flew my first drone for years, not knowing what I didn't know, and I only wish I'd worked with somebody like Paul sooner. So there might be some experienced pilots out there who can learn a thing or two from this video.
Flying the drone is the easy part. We're going to make the rest of it easy so that you're following the rules, buying the right equipment, and doing some important things that help you make better videos right out of the box.
If you want to come on board and fly drones with us, or if you want to operate a drone for any reason that's not purely recreational or flying controlled airspace, you will need your Part 107 certificate.
The cost to take the exam and get your Part 107 is $175. It takes about 7 to 10 days to get your temporary certificate, and then roughly 6 to 8 weeks to receive your permanent card, assuming you pass the exam.
I started watching some free YouTube videos and downloaded a free study guide a couple of days before my scheduled exam and passed pretty easily. You can also pay to take a course that guarantees you'll pass or you'll get your money back.
Before you buy a drone, visit the FAA Drone Zone website. This is your starting point. This is where you go to start the exam process, where you go to register your drone, and where you go to get operating and authorizations and waivers. We'll discuss that more in a bit.
If you haven't yet purchased your drone, DJI offers 3 series of consumer drones that we are going to consider. From smallest to bigger, there's the DJI Mini series, the DJI Air series, and the Mavic series.
The Mini 3 Pro is our go-to drone because of its portability. It has good battery life and its compatibility with the RC Pro, unlike the Mini 4 Pro drone.
So Paul, is DJI coming out with an RC Pro 2 that will be compatible with the new drones on the new transmission system? And will there be a new Mavic series drone coming out?
You know, Eric, no one truly knows for sure. There are speculation and rumors of a new DJI Mavic 4 Pro as well as RC Pro 2 controller. Haven't seen any specs on it at this point. Just know that you are going to need an RC Pro controller for this purpose, which is compatible currently with the Air 2S, Mini 3 Pro, and the Mavic series of drone, at least at the time of this recording.
Well, also, we value portability, so we're going to stick with the minis. And I just spent $1 gazillion on a whole drone program, so I'm not going to be in any rush to upgrade. And this is going to last us 5 or 6 years. So the videos you're going to see in my stuff are primarily good, at least for the indefinite future, are going to be on the Mini 3 Pro and the RC Pro. But we're going to be eager to see what DJI comes out with next because they're always coming out with new stuff.
Right. And to that point, the latest and greatest does not guarantee success. Truly, fundamentals and understanding your equipment is what's going to trump everything.
There are tons of YouTube videos out there comparing the different types of drones, different types of cameras, comparing battery life, etc.
Right.
And every time a new drone comes out, there are plenty of YouTubers out there who are going to compare the new drone versus the older drones. You can count on that.
Absolutely. A Mavic may not seem much bigger than a Mini, but once you kit it up, it takes a lot more space and costs a lot more money to operate.
Also, catching the Mini and catching the Mavic when you're on a crowded boat on a tiny little space feels very, very different.
You might want to consider lensrentals.com to rent your drones if you're going to be flying regularly. Another really cool thing about Lens Rentals is that you can rent the drone. They will give you a price to buy it and give you a credit for the rental fee so you can try before you buy.
And Lens Rentals has taken care of us when we've had rainouts and stuff. They're super great to work with, so
they are.
Can't recommend them enough. So you've picked the drone that you want. You've got your Part 107, and you're raring to go flying. So what do you need to do next?
Well, Eric, before every flight, you're going to want to essentially plan the flight ahead if that's feasibly possible. We use AirHub Portal, which is tied into the FAA's Before You Fly system, and we can confirm any flight restrictions. And in most cases, receive instant LANC or low altitude authorization in controlled airspace.
Will the drone allow you to launch in controlled airspace?
Well, Eric, maybe not. If we have LANC authorization through the low altitude system, we're still going to go in and check the DJI FlySafe site to see if that particular geo zone is unlocked and submit a request to unlock that zone if necessary. Part of the process is submitting a copy of your authorization with the request. Everything is right there on the DJI FlySafe website, and there is a very helpful video reference as well.
Getting all the stuff out of the way before you arrive is so important. We would never show up and not be able to fly, would we, Paul?
Let's just say it'll never happen again.
The FAA has streamlined the LANC authorization process when flying in controlled airspace, and in most situations you can get instant authorization. But what about those times you can't?
Like the time you wanted to fly next to the hospital with the helipad on its roof?
Just like that.
On the Drone Zone website, you can submit authorization request, operational waivers to the FAA, and they ask that you at least do this 60 days in advance, and it used to be 90 days, so plan ahead.
There are examples and YouTube videos that will help you through those processes, and it helped me when I had to do mine at that hospital situation. We'll probably make one of those too when we get into those situations.
Right, and I couldn't believe you pulled that off with the helipad right there, but they did say yes.
So, are we forgetting anything?
Well, before we fly, we still want to check the FAA's Notice of Air Missions and any temporary flight restrictions. We are going to print out the remote ID declaration of compliance for the drone we're flying, any low altitude authorizations, waivers, and documents, and remember to bring your license in case anyone starts asking questions.
When you're flying drones, you're going to attract attention and curiosity, and it can be unproductive and distracting. Dealing with people, especially if someone thinks you shouldn't be flying a drone. Having everything nice and organized helps put everyone's mind at ease quickly and efficiently so we can focus on our mission.
Mission? Sounds very serious.
Mission. It always is. If I have a spotter, I'm going to ask them to also be on the lookout for those people who always want to come up and ask questions while you're hyper-focused on getting that perfect shot. The goal is always to put their mind at ease, and in many cases, we'll invite them to come and watch through our extended reality glasses, so long as they hold the questions until after the flight.
I do recommend that you always run a short practice flight prior to getting out there to make sure your camera settings are correct and there's no sudden surprises. This is the time to make sure that you have the correct filter for the drone. Double check to make sure that you have adequate storage for your mission. All your camera settings are adjusted correctly. I also take this time to look through my system settings and sensor menus to make sure that everything is functioning correctly.
I almost lost a drone when I was rushed trying to get to the start of a sailboat race when I wasn't ready, and I didn't do my practice flight, and my controller had logged me out of the DJI account. If I hadn't remembered the login, I don't know what would have happened. So Paul, can you quickly explain the camera settings to those of us who aren't camera experts?
Sure, Eric. On the Mini 3 Pro, we're going to go into our manual settings, and we're going to set our shutter speed to 1/60th, which is 2 times the frame rate. We're stuck with a 1.7 aperture on this aircraft, and we're intending to shoot at 4K 30 frames a second. We're going to set our white balance to 5500K, which is daylight. We're going to set our ISO to 100, and then put on filters until the correct exposure value is hovering on your EV scale as close to 0 as possible. A negative value will be a little dark, a positive will be brighter. By taking the time to go through this exercise, our colors will look very good every time, and usually not need any color grading, and the footage will not be under or overexposed.
Believe me, Paul can make a 60-minute video explaining all these camera settings. I've learned a ton from him, but we're not going to do that today. Maybe we'll do that in another video. What about those of us who watch those YouTube videos with people telling us that we can get a better look by shooting in log and using these things called LUTs?
So Eric, our method gets us good looking videos that we can start editing with very little need for color grading or correction. If you have color grading expertise and you want to expend that extra effort, go ahead, feel free to do so.
We'll talk more about editing in a little bit, but at this point, we're ready to go flying. Before we allow people to fly with us on a boat, we're going to make sure they can do some basic things on land.
Yes, learning to land on a boat in a tiny zone before being comfortable landing on shore is definitely not a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
After you've practiced taking off and landing from a flat surface on shore, you'll want to practice hand launching and hand catching the drone.
Hand launching and catching is not just for flying from a boat. If you're landing in close proximity to other objects, the obstacle avoidance sensors can make landing difficult and sometimes even dangerous. So after a couple unfortunate experiences that we've had on boats, we only hand launch and catch drones when we're doing that.
It takes practice, but one important thing to do is to take your hand off the controller when going to grab the drone. You don't want to make a sudden run movement that can lead to many bad things.
You can add some protection to your fingers from the propellers by using these fingertip protectors and other certain gloves that are cut resistant and designed to protect from sharp knives and add protection from things like spinning propellers.
So, shutting the aircraft down, it's essential to get it turned off as quickly as possible. And to do so, the fastest way is if you flip the drone over, it immediately shuts it off because it throws off your IMU system. You can also use and move both sticks to the center and power the drone down that way as well.
A lanyard for your controller is a must-have when you're trying to catch a drone by hand.
Eric thinks of everything. If you're operating in big waves from a boat, anything that can make it safer is worth trying. Whatever you try, make sure you practice on land before trying on a crowded boat.
So at this point, you're certified, you've got your drone, you know how to stay out of trouble with the feds, and you know how to set your camera up for good quality videos every time. There's just one last piece of the puzzle. Paul introduced me to DaVinci Resolve from Blackmagic, and that's what I've been using ever since.
You can make simple videos in iMovie, but DaVinci Resolve offers much more powerful tools that are for free that you can grow into with more experience.
We go over video editing and much more in our free or mostly free How We Make Sailing Videos course at sailboatinstructor.com. The course is also a compilation of my favorite YouTube videos from other channels, as well as some original content. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you found it helpful, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. You can also support the channel and our efforts by joining as a member or giving a one-time super thanks. Thank you to everyone supporting our efforts, and go out there, have fun, and be safe.
Absolutely, and we really appreciate you watching, and if you have any questions, reach out in the comments. Take care, happy flying and sailing.